Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Creative Cranium. Got a terrific topic tonight. We're going to talk about the most effective practices for launching your project. So without further ado, I'm going to launch right into introducing some guests. First up, my pal, Mr. Steve Ricketts. How you doing, Steve?
Hi, Tim. Good to be with you.
So real quick, tell us who you are and what you're best known for.
Well, my name is Steve Ricketts. I am one of the founding fathers, I guess, of CBCS Comics. I currently am the writer, artist, inker, letterer of my own comic book called Ripped, and we just launched the Kickstarter for the second issue.
Terrific. Can't wait to talk about that. So you're kind of the chief bottle washer over there. Terrific. So let's jump right in. My next guest, your friend and mine, it's Laurie Calcaterra. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, everybody. How are you this evening?
So, Laurie, tell us who you are and what you're most known for.
I'm the writer-creator of Path of the Pale Rider. I'm also on the Tuesday Morning Brew. On this channel every Tuesday, you can catch me and all sorts of indie creators. I do the same. I interview, but I don't do a panel. I just do one at a time.
Yeah, I do that too. By the way, I had a terrific time when you and I did the post-apocalyptic films. Viewers, if you want to go back and check out Laurie's interview, she was great on that.
That was an awesome show. We had so much fun.
It was so fun. Thanks for doing that. My next guest is a stranger to nobody. He is the mastermind behind the Drumsticks of Doom. Please welcome John Westhoff, my pal. How you doing, John?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to see you. So for the viewers that don't know, tell us who you are and what you're known for.
So I am John Westhoff. I am the previous publisher with Kingbone Press, now with Part-Time Comics for about the last 3 years. I have about 15 years publishing, writing, lettering experience. I have about 3 series currently in rotation and various one-shots and anthologies that all come out under the name Part-Time Comics.
Terrific, terrific. Hey, man, I'm really glad you could make it, John.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you. Hey, my next guest, I met this fella in Baltimore and I'm just increasingly impressed by what he does. Please welcome Matt Kund. How you doing, Matt?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about this stuff.
Yeah, it's really good to see you, buddy. For the viewers that don't know about you, can you tell us who you are and what you're the most known for?
Sure. I'm mostly a comics writer. I do a little bit of art here and there. But I'm the writer of Metal Eagle, which was just on Kickstarter. I'm fulfilling it right now. It's a book about the CIA creating a heavy metal band to go around Eastern Europe as a front for their spy missions. And I'm also the co-host of the Constructing Comics podcast. A number of folks here. Laurie's been on there a few times. And I am the co-publisher of Ageless Press.
Nice, nice. And you've got some cool stuff coming up too. We're going to talk about that as I go forward. I see I got a note there in the chat. Does my mic sound too quiet to you guys?
No, but
just a little.
Steve's is loud. Like Steve was talking about, like, turn down my mic.
Oh,
I don't know what happened.
I don't know how to turn mine down.
You sound okay to me. Well, I will.
I think you're good. God.
Let's jump right in with some questions. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about most effective launch practices. And all of us in this group have a moderate degree of Kickstarter experience or crowdfunding in general. So what I want to talk about is some things that we tried and worked or didn't work. So Steve, I'm going to start with you. So we're talking about launching Ripped. This is the second issue. Am I correct?
Yes, it is.
So first off, how long did you do a pre-launch? If so, how long and how many followers did it get you?
I did a pre-launch. I only got about 15 followers. I didn't really promote it as well as I probably should have. I'm still new to all this, to be honest with you. I mean,
well, hey, and look, that's okay too, right? Because the thing is, we're all trying to learn it. Yeah, we're all trying to learn it, and there aren't necessarily any wrong answers. You understand? Right. This is something that we all kind of do together. But how many did you do? A couple of weeks? How long did you do?
I guess I posted it maybe 2 months ago. And just let it set. I didn't put a date on it or anything. I kind of had a date in mind and I missed it by a couple of weeks, but overall, I think I was pretty close, for predicting a couple months out.
Gotcha. And Laurie, how about you? For our example here, let's talk about Path of the Pale Rider, because you and I were at the same time, so I'm a little more familiar with it. So did you do a pre-launch for it?
I typically do a pre-launch. I like to have the pre-launch active as I'm fulfilling the last one. So as soon as I fulfill the like the PDF, the digital copies, a lot of times Kickstarter will approve your next one. So as people are getting their comics, I'm actively telling them to sign up for the next one. But I have found, like, I had a ton of people sign up for the pre-launch for the first one. A lot of my returning backers don't necessarily sign up for the pre-launch the second time because they're all in my social media at this point.
Right. That's a good
point.
And
I found the same thing. Yeah.
And John, how about you? I know you do a pre-launch because I watch it. How long do you do for a pre-launch?
I try to do at least 30 days. I've done varying lengths over the last few years. As far as 60 days out was the longest I did. And didn't really see a huge impact. But really, like Laurie, I try to get one in the pipe as I'm fulfilling the next one so that, those who do want to follow or make sure that they're there get the first notification chance,
Gotcha. And do you remember when you did 2 months, was it an appreciable difference over 1 month?
No, I don't think so. Actually, it really had a strange dip from issue 1 to issue. So for issue 2 of Drumsticks of Doom, I did 2 months thinking, this time I'm really going to ramp it up. And we got more followers than we ever had on an issue. But it didn't necessarily translate to higher backer numbers or dollar amounts or anything like that. It was actually less than issue 1.
Gotcha. And Matt, how about you? When you do the pre-launch, how long of a time do you do? And what do you recommend?
We're generally about 2 weeks out. A lot of that is, gathering the materials to make sure that, we're ready to launch. But with Cosmic Caveman, the book that I'm currently involved with, we were about 2 weeks out just to have some material to start to pushing out. One thing I was thinking about when everybody was talking about the dip when you do an issue 2, I'm wondering how many people don't feel that it's important to follow the project because Kickstarter sends everybody an email that, you follow this creator. They just launched another project. So I'm wondering if there's like, hey, I actually don't really need to click this button here because I know if I'm a returning Kickstarter customer that
that's a good point. That's a good point.
I've backed John's, previous Drumsticks of Doom. All of us are probably pretty, analytic and, nervous about the number of followers that we're getting. But I wonder how many people are like, hey, it's not really that important for me to click this link because Kickstarter is going to send me an email on launch day. So I wonder how much of that is going on.
It's interesting to me that on my third Kickstarter, I had the least amount of followers and I had the most amount of backers.
Okay.
Out of all 3 campaigns. So my followers, like I said, I think are, yes, receiving that notification, but they're also, I think social media plays a lot into it because a lot of them are following on different socials. And of course, we're very vocal. Anytime we launch a Kickstarter, we're like, hey, it's live, right? So they don't have to push that button. They don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just found it interesting. Everybody panics about that pre-launch number, but again, it really doesn't mean anything.
And I've heard, look, I'll just share my experience real quick. And like I say, viewers, man, there's not really any right answers.
Right.
What we're trying to do is gather all the smart people together and we try and reach some kind of consensus. So I don't generally go to 30 days. I tried to last time. And some people now even say 60 days. My worry there is that that's too long, right? Like it seems to me that maybe around 40 days, you're going to lose some steam with the people you got that were excited. At least it feels long. And I also, and by the way, this has more to do with my anxiety than any kind of analytics. I don't advertise anything for the next one until every backer's got their book in their hand. And hey, Victor Medina, how are you doing? The reason why I do that is because you guys probably know this. There's a lot of Kickstarter creators that are starting to not necessarily get the best name because what they're getting known to be is Kickstarter promoters and not necessarily bookmakers. It's two different things, as we know.
Yeah.
Sure.
So my next question for you guys would be this. What's up, Chris? How you doing, brother? My next question will be this. Steve, I'll start with you. When you get your followers going, do you watch your dashboard and watch your analytics page? You know, it shows you what they call your conversion.
Yes.
Do you watch that pretty close?
You know, I'm trying to learn all I can about that. I do find it fascinating to keep an eye on that. Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of things do you measure? What do you use to measure to see if you are going up or going down?
Well, this is, I'm not even a week in on my second issue, you know. So like I said, I'm still kind of, I'm fresh.
And that, I can be honest, that's the best kind.
I mean, I really am. I Kickstarter. I mean, I wish it was a little more user friendly, to be honest with you.
What kind of things would make it more user friendly for you?
I mean, I don't think people understand how much work it is to actually launch a campaign. It is a lot of work.
Hell yeah.
And I mean, in my situation, I'm doing everything on my book. I write it, draw it, and everything aside from coloring. So I put a lot of work into the book already. And by the time I get to the Kickstarter, I'm exhausted.
Look, man, I feel you. We were talking a little bit about that backstage, and I'll save this question. But being a creator and being a Kickstarter promoter, they're two different animals.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's jump over to Laurie. Laurie, how about you? Now, you've had a couple of successful Kickstarters. What kind of things do you use to measure yours to see if you're getting some growth? Do you watch the conversion? What tools do you use?
The conversion rate, yeah, but I'm comparing numbers from the last Kickstarters. I always keep my goal the same, even if I need more funds than we originally did, which is common because our first issue was black and white and now we are producing in color, right? So we're changing the budget, but the goal stays the same, and how quickly we get to goal tells me if I'm doing my job. You know what I mean? If I'm building my audience and people are showing up on day 1 and day 2, if we get funded, like the first one, it took me like 25 days to get funded. I think the second one, it took me right around the same. And then the third campaign, we were 75% funded in like less than 24 hours. Nice. So that tells me I'm growing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nice. We funded in, I think, less than a week. And my goals are pretty big because being a writer, I'm paying all the art team.
Sure.
So yeah, it takes us a hot minute to get there, but that's usually what I'm gauging is like, how many backers are we getting per day that are new? And then percent to goal compared to the last two.
Gotcha. And John, how about you? You've had a couple where you can definitely measure them. What kind of tools do you use to measure it? First of all, do you watch the conversion rate? And second thing, if you're not doing that, what kind of things do you do to measure growth?
Well, I do watch the conversion rate, and now you got me checking right now. Reminding me, hey, I should check mine. I do watch that, and it has been our biggest success was Drumsticks and Doom issue 1. So we're always trying to kind of chase that dragon. For whatever reason, people were super excited. They jumped on it. We had a lot of awesome creators, involved. We had higher backer follows, higher backer amount, higher conversion of followers, almost double what followers we had. About the same percentage, actually, because we had so many more. So I'm always kind of scratching my head about what the excitement was. I mean, obviously, the art speaks for itself. I think it's a pretty cool concept. Maybe people at that time were just excited for something, like that. But yeah, I do look at the numbers, and I'm always trying to. You always want a little bit of growth. Like this time, we already have, over a dozen new backers that are getting like the catch-up tiers, which is great because we're finishing the first arc and we're getting ready for the trade. But still not seeing as many of the backers, like 50 to 60 from that first issue, just never came back, or some came back and then didn't come back for issue 3. But I do things a little differently, as you know. I don't know how deep you want me to get into it, but
I do. Yeah, John, tell us what kind of things do you do differently? I want to hear.
We've done some multi-issue campaigns, and sometimes that's just not a necessity. There's only so much time, like you said, like Steve said. We spent so much time making the books. I had 2 books ready at the same time. I've done this before with anthologies, and we've done 2 books, so that makes it a little confusing, right?
Yeah.
Was everybody there? My last campaign for Drumsticks of Doom 3 and Depowered 2. Our superhero series.
I see what you're saying. It makes it a little hard to pin down who's there for what.
Were they there for Drumsticks and they were like, well, I'll get Depowered. I had got issue 1. Depowered had its own struggles with issue 1. It didn't have a successful crowdfunding. So yeah, there can be a lot of factors, and I took stats in school. I know we can analyze the stats all we want, but there's so many variables that we can't control for that you'll just drive yourself crazy if you look at it too much. But you should look at it, right? You want to know
Right,
why.
right.
Why did I have 231 followers for Drumsticks and Doom issue 1, and I can't crack 150 on this new one? So,
I feel you. Matt, how about you? You've got multiple projects going at any given time, right? First of all, do you watch the conversions? And second, what do you use as tools to measure if there's growth?
So I do, there's a couple of things. I try to look at in Kickstarter, I have some questions about how accurate they are, but when they tell you like what platform the people are converting from,
Right.
like if I see that like one is more successful, I know for my Metal Eagle campaign, Twitter was more successful. Twitter's pretty easy, you can fire off a tweet in 10 to 15 seconds. So I'm like, I'm going to lean into Twitter because that seems to be working. The other thing I like to look at is kind of the reverse of the start. All the people who are following that haven't come over yet. There is with Kickstarter, everybody experiences there's a rush at the beginning. There's the dead period at the end, and there's the rush. There's dead period in the middle. I'm sorry, and then there's the rush at the end. So I like to look at all of the people who are following the Kickstarter who haven't come over yet, because I'm kind of thinking like these people are going to be my last 48 hours rush. Yeah. And if I'm somewhere close, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get that rush at the end. Again, I think Kickstarter sends out everybody an email saying, hey, this project that you're following is in the last 48 hours. Do you want to get in there?
They get a 48 and a 24, I believe.
An 8.
Yeah, so I like to watch that number I like to watch that number as well, because, it's cricket in the middle. You launch, you're like, oh man, I'm to the moon. Everything's going to go well. And then you're like 1, 2, 3 a day. And then you're like, all right, if I can just weather the storm, I get to that last 48 hours. If I'm close, most likely, we've all experienced that. You sort of, if one of these people that can't fund in day one, you're gonna get there in the last 2 to 3 days.
Right. And I got a question based on that too, so hold that thought. One thing I'd like to point out, I always have goals for conversion myself. I'm a little bit of a numbers guy, you'd probably be surprised to hear this, but I'm a little bit of a nerd.
Couldn't have guessed.
But my personal goal is 40% conversion. I know that sounds ridiculously high, but it's not impossible. On one of the books, we did it. And it was Travis Gibb that mentioned to me, when you get to that lull in the middle, you can forecast. Actually, Laurie and I talked about this. You can forecast where you're going to end up by using the conversion rate. And for me, it's going to be accurate within 10 or 12 customers.
Wow.
So what you're looking for is roughly about the halfway point. 75% kind of works, but you can use your following backers plus times your conversion, and that is how many more customers you've got to go in the shoot.
Interesting.
Have you ever looked at KickTrack? Have you ever looked at KickTrack that like tries to project where you're going to be?
Yeah, but you know what, Matt, that doesn't work for me because I tend to have a big opening day, and what that does is skews the whole. It's like, oh, you're on track for $48,000.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Right. That would be great.
That's my same.
Yep.
That's my same experience. I'm like, wow, this thing is going to do this thing. According to them, this thing is going to do amazing, and I'm like, it's going to be a squeaker.
Yeah, and that's something that I have not, and trust me, I've analyzed the KickTrack backwards and forwards, and I've had some that I barely advertised half as much, and I was on the top of the list. And the last one, I tried to trick the algorithm, and it didn't show up at all till the end. So, and you need somebody smarter than me for that question. I couldn't figure that one out.
It's saying I'm on track for 6,000, so let's not poo-poo it. Okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha. John, you got
this,
man. You got this. So let's change gears a little bit. We talk a little bit about when you have a launch party, what you're trying to do is to drum people up to, and I know Laurie and I do this, so we'll ask this question. What kind of things would you do in the realm of podcasting / launch party during the launch to generate backers? First, Steve, have you ever considered having a launch party for your project?
I have not. I don't even know what that is, Tam.
Well, let's talk about it. It's a good one.
Sure.
Basically what we do, and actually when we come to Laurie, this would be perfect for her, so I'll let her expand on this. But what you do is we generally gather other folks together on a format kind of like this, not too different. And maybe you'd reveal some art that hadn't been seen. You show a little bit of merch, and you write, and you hit the button while you're all on the air. And the hope is that you got some viewers. We did really well with the cryptid book with that. And what I did is, I had teams that worked on some concept art and this kind of thing. And it was, I think it was 12 people were on one mammoth podcast, and it actually generated some business. But you know what? I'm going to defer over to Laurie because I know she does a good one. Laurie, tell us a little bit about an effective launch party for a Kickstarter.
Oh, I love launch parties. We have a blast. We do a bunch on my show. I will come on extra times in the evening, a lot of times to launch my friends' Kickstarters just because they need a place to go. It's usually about 2 hours. The first hour, we spend, just talking to the creators, see how they feel, geeking them up. We'll talk about their project, all the cool things that are going on. Let us play all the videos, walk through all the Kickstarter goodies. And then, about an hour in, when we have quite a few people watching at that point, they push the button, it goes live, and we cheer them on as the money goes up. So it's a good feeling, and it's great to see people kind of hop on board and to see everything climb. Yeah, like Pop said, we've done a lot of live launches on the network, and I feel like that's really a fun way and successful way to launch your Kickstarter because it gets more eyes on it. So.
Great answer, Laurie. And I guess we should give Pops a quick shout out because we did the cryptid launch here too. And we're real grateful for that. And, I had my best launch ever by a shot by doing the launch party.
That's awesome. So,
Steve, man, you got to come over to the Madness Network. They got all
I'll launch you. Absolutely. Yeah. I have fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, John, how about you? I didn't remember. Was there a drumsticks launch party?
We did a YouTube. I chatted with our mutual friend Carissa Grant and an artist of the series, Dan Doherty. I don't put a lot of time into the launch party. I have done some in the past. I did a launch party on Blake's Buzz Live, and like this time I just did a impromptu. Hey, let's talk. Let's see, answer questions about Kickstarter. We had our best launch yet, really with that. So again, I think it's cool and it's great, and definitely people should do it. But sometimes it just doesn't line up, with my schedule and my family and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, well said.
But I do probably need to make it part of the routine, going forward.
Well, and I should quick mention too, John's always helped me do stuff. And by the way, John was on the show, and we had a good time doing the non-superhero graphic novels, was it?
Yeah.
That's still one of the better viewed broadcasts.
Yeah.
So, Matt, tell us, now you're a publisher too, right? And you actually have a couple of titles. Do you do launch parties for your titles?
We have not done a launch party, at the start. But one thing that's sort of related, we'll do like an IG live, like on a Sunday night. The book that I'm working with now, the two guys are artists, so we'll just get our iPhones out, start drawing. People will come in, to see what we're drawing, and when we see a comment, we're like, hey, if you like this, you might want to jump over and check our Kickstarter. So not necessarily a launch party, but we'll go live throughout the campaign just to try to create some content. We were on drawing Crad the Cosmic Caveman. I even drew a terrible version of it. Just stuff during the campaign live, but never anything at the start of the campaign. But I would like to give it a shot.
Nice. I was, I'll just expand on that a little bit. What we did is we had a group of artists. It was like 4 or 5 artists, and each one did a cryptid art piece. And there was a couple that weren't even working for me. It was just something that I saw out there in the wilds of the internet. And I said, hey, we're talking about cryptids. Do you want to come on the air and talk a little bit about how you designed your piece? And the idea is it would click down. There was one for each day. It was the 12 days of cryptids, right? But when it got right to the end, it was a good idea, I thought. And we definitely got some action. What I wanted to circle back around to, though, is I think I could have done better with what they call the early bird backer specials. And basically, if you guys are not too familiar with that, you want something to capture the people that come in either the first 24 or maybe you go to 48 hours. I did 96 hours, which I feel
It was kind of long.
I think maybe it was too long, and it was for a trading card. By the way, they'll be here this week. I wish I had one to show you. It's a chrome-plated alien trading card.
Cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty badass. First of all, Steve, do you do like an early bird special, anything like that? And if so, what do you do?
No, I didn't, and I've thought about doing that the last or both of my Kickstarters, and I didn't know if it was I didn't know, number one, how effective it would be, and I do understand the importance of getting as many people in as out of the gate as you can. The first one I did, I did do trading cards, but I did them through the whole campaign. They were kind of stretch goals. I haven't put any stretch goals.
By the way, Steve, I got your cards. They look sharp.
Yeah, they turned out. I was pretty impressed how they turned out.
Yeah,
nice.
Would you mind if I asked where'd you get them done?
At Comics Wellspring.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's where I get mine too. Who designs them? You do?
I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good job, Steve.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job, Steve.
So, Laurie, how about you? You do early bird specials.
I do.
What kind of things do you have up your sleeve for early birds?
Well, I do a collectible sticker. So I run it, I think, just for a couple days. I think I have to check. I have to build my next Kickstarter soon, so I'll go look and repeat it. But it's a standard set time, and it's usually a original sticker based off of the interior of the comic that we're working on. And we've had 3 of them so far, and now we're going to be doing another one. So we're going to have like nice little collectible stickers.
Nice.
I have some extras, and I think once we get further on, I'm actually going to have extra albums that people can put their stickers in if you can get caught up if you've missed the previous ones. So I'll have some extra. But yeah, we do a sticker. I'm actually looking more into trading cards at this point.
Yeah.
We're doing poker cards, but I was like, I really like those foil cards. I don't know.
Yeah, they are cool.
They are nice.
They're cool, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, in nice. A little bit, and hey, this is one man's opinion, gang. There's multiple ways to do things, but I do almost as well with the trading cards as I do with the books now, and it's something that what I mean by that. By the way, I don't necessarily mean sales or dollar amount.
Right.
I mean, people from farther away seem to like cards because I'm trying to build international. But, I have people write to me. I got a couple from Ireland this time. I got a couple in the Czech area. I got, it's like, hey, can I get both cards? This kind of thing. It's like, oh, they want the cards more than the book. But anyway, the answer is yes. If you want to pay the shipping, it's all you. Right. So, John, how about you? Drumsticks of Doom, you had a early bird backer program?
Yeah, so we what I've been focusing on is giving us a small discount to those who back early. I don't know if that's the right way.
Can we ask you how much of a discount is it if you back early?
Well, we typically do $2 to $3 off, like a catch-up tier.
Right.
And I usually offer a limited amount. I mean, I call them early bird specials, but it's like more like first come, first serve because they stay up until they go. But like our whole library right now is like, $7 off or something like that. So you can get a discount on all, 8 or 9 of our books. So we're trying that. I've definitely in the past have given away, stickers and trading cards and all kinds of things, whether it's early bird or stretch goals. And I find, you end up investing a lot of the budget into those things and your time and stuff like that. I'm not sure if I'm over investing in people who are going to be there anyway. I want to give them something. I just haven't found the right item for our fans.
You're speaking my language there, John. You're speaking my language. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because, as you guys know, I'm real concerned about, how do you put it? Sometimes we're chasing the wrong end of the dog. Can you tell me what you mean by over-investing at the beginning?
Well, again, I think a certain amount of your backers are going to be there at the beginning anyway, right? They're going to be excited to back, especially, now that I've done a couple of longer running series. I really am. Once they're kind of in for the first issue, you see a majority of them throughout the issues. So again, it's not me trying to be disingenuous or not give them value. I feel like the value should be in the book, in the product they're getting. So I try to, put a good price out for that first. So I don't leave a lot of room for me to be like, okay, here's an extra print and here's an extra this. Yeah. So, that's kind of where I'm coming from. I know, again, in the past, we've done huge things, huge packages of 8x11 prints and stickers and trading cards. One of our most successful campaigns did that. and that was a lot of fun, and people were very excited to open them and get that. But again, I think long term, the investment in that time and the extra shipping and getting things here and all the logistical parts, it just hasn't made a lot of sense for me. The most excited I think I've ever seen a campaign was Drumsticks of Doom 1. At the end, we had a big stretch goal to extend the book. Otherwise, the book was going to be a one-shot. And that seemed to get the people excited. People were tweeting about it, upping their pledges, telling me, sending me messages, telling me, they were cheering me on and stuff. So that felt like, that was an interesting experiment. And we're doing that again this time. And again, people are like, oh, the series has got to continue. I love it so much. And I think people get more into that investment, that part of it, than they do, an extra sticker or something in their package, which can be cool, especially over when you have a set like we did guitar picks. They're the first few, so I do try to do something. But
which, by the way, that's something I can use. So I was actually a fan of that one. Hey, but John, you've stumbled across a kind of truth there, and we're going to cover that a little bit too, because I'm actually friends with most of the guys in this room, so I guess I don't mind telling you, we've done a couple of things together. We're all about trying new things that other people aren't doing. And what I'm quickly learning is that I'm again, one man's opinion. Don't hear that Tim knows what he's doing, because I assure you he does not. But I have tried a lot of things in a row that didn't work. And one of them is bogging down in merch and these various things that make it actually harder. Because what I want to do at the end of the day is be known for these great stories and these great books. Matt, you've got some terrific stories in your lineup. I loved Metal Eagle, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
A brother in metal is always welcome in this room. So what about, in your case, what kind of things you doing an early bird backer? What kind of things have worked or maybe didn't work?
For the last two campaigns, myself or with Metal Eagle or with Cosmic Caveman, we didn't do any early bird specials. I think that was just a part of us being a little bit overwhelmed and just trying to, create rewards that people were interested in throughout the campaign. It's something I would be interested in doing. But as John said, I think the stretch goals, as people see the campaign either successful or very successful or able to reach extra targets, that seems to maybe create a little bit more enthusiasm. Another thing that I probably should try is the earlier bird specials. But I when I see people that are like, this variant cover is only going to be here for 24 hours, like those things seem to do really well. So something that I would like to give a try.
Good answer. So let's touch on that a little bit. The variant cover angle. I've tried a little bit of some things like. Well, it goes back to what John was saying, which the thing that tends to perform the best for me is the upgrades to the book. And these are things like additional pages. We have some things in the back, which are, you'd probably call it lore. And I also, if it hits X amount of dollars, it goes to a thicker stock cover and the logo goes chrome, because that way everybody gets a slightly cooler book. Steve, in your mind, what kind of things would provide value to a backer that would make them say, wow, this book really came out great?
Yeah. Well, this second issue, the first issue I did a regular cover, and then I did 2 variant covers. The second issue, I know that you're going to have a lull on the second issue. So I at the last minute, I pulled the rabbit out of the hat and went to an additional variant cover. The first issue I did some stretch goals with the cards and such, and I think that the additional cover may be what saves me on the second issue. But now I'm also.
Can I ask what your price point is for your highest variant?
Oh my. Let's look.
If you know it, yeah.
I don't.
I mean, is it a $50 book? Is it a $20?
Oh, no. You know what, Tim? I brought the price down quite a bit. The highest variant I have is $30.
That's reasonable. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah,
I got a $30 book too. That's
the first issue I did metal covers as well, and I think I had one at $100, and I sold 1 or 2 of them, I think. But this one, are people going to spend $100 on a number 2? I don't know. I mean, I don't. I,
You miss all the shots you don't take.
This is all new. This is all new territory to me. You know.
If your cover is
It
hot,
will.
you'll do it.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you guys don't know, of course, Steve has a very strong pedigree among comic collectors. So tell us just real quick what a couple of the variants are. I saw them and they're pretty badass.
Well, when I first the first issue, my theory on the variant was that I wanted to do one variant that everybody's done and gets overdone, and I wanted to do one that nobody's ever done before, and that's what I did on the first issue. The second issue, I kept on with that. I did one that everybody does, which was Secret Wars #8, and then I did one that nobody's ever done before, which was Batman #49, which was the big Joker popping out of the genie popping out of the lamp.
The lamp. Yeah, it's cool.
And I decided that I needed something else hot, and so I did one homage to Someone is Killing or Something's Killing Children #1.
I thought that was an interesting choice. Why?
Yeah.
And again, this isn't me saying anything negative. Instead of saying why did you choose it, let me ask how did you choose it?
Well, #1, I chose it because that book is hot,
Right.
and I wanted something that people were really, and I thought, I looked at the cover and I thought, what can I do with this that makes this tie into my book? And I don't want to do, I don't want to do a book variant cover just because for the sake of, kind of making it look as, much like the cover as I can. I want to kind of tie it into my book, and every cover that I've done has some kind of meaning or some kind of tie-in with my book.
I see we've got a question there in the chat. That's Christian asking, what can you do to generate or reignite interest in a kind of like a second chance campaign? I'm figuring, the answer that I would kind of give is to find a way to reach the people that weren't on either of those platforms, which the way that I'm trying it is video. Everybody might say something different. And Laurie, if you'd like to answer that question too, but I do want to ask Laurie about, the thing is, Laurie always has terrific merch. We can all agree on that. And it's some of the most original stuff. But just for the moment, I want to stick to the cover things that we were talking about. Laurie, what kind of things have you developed in your covers? Which ones were successful? Which ones weren't? Are they limited time? How did you do it?
I love doing variant covers, and I like getting new artists involved. So I had the same artists for the first couple times as I was getting more and more into the community. But now that I have more contacts that are like you guys, it's like we can communicate. We recommend artists to each other. I usually pick 2 artists who are not traditional comic book artists. So on my last campaign, I had 2 covers that were done by guys that one was a graphic artist. Like he does logos and does like corporate art. And the other one was a high school teacher. He teaches art and he specializes in vector art. And both of those came out amazing. They weren't like your typical covers. So those did really well just because they were different. You know what I mean? And it's not something that you're going to see really anywhere else. When a graphic designer tackles an undead bear, it turned out really awesome. It looked like a movie poster.
Yeah, that's the kind of red one, right?
The yellow one.
Yeah, it's cool. I have that in the video.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
Yeah.
Did really well. And then I'll do 2 other ones, and usually those 2 are from like industry professionals. They're working artists. They go to cons. They have a following. So a lot of times those will do well because their audience comes with them. You know what I mean? And I'm looking for the guys that are willing to help promote, where it's like, hey, have you seen the cover I did for Laurie, on Path of the Pale Rider? This is such a cool series. This is what I did. And so I've had that success a couple, for 2 campaigns as well. Well, that artist brings their audience, and then I get new readers, and now they're a part of the following. So that's kind of how I help supplement our cover choices. Marco's cover is always fabulous as well, and always is the bestseller. But those variants definitely help. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Jumping over to John, John, I love your covers. We've talked about this before. You're a man after my own heart. But I want to ask you the same question. How did you choose them? Because obviously in your genre, there's so many good ones to choose from, so many great ones. And tell us a little bit about your thought process, how you picked the designs. And by the way, if the viewers don't know, tell us a little bit about the metal background and exactly what they are.
Yeah, so, well, particularly to the series Drumsticks of Doom, in most series, I go with one standard cover, typically by the person who's doing the interiors. That's how I like my comics. But I've definitely learned after 15 years, you got to break away from some of your habits. So with this time around, particularly with Drumsticks of Doom, I definitely embraced the variant life. I only do one variant per issue to kind of make it special. I did do an additional sketch cover for the first one, but I try not to do too many. I'm still kind of, that's just kind of how I am, a grumpy old man in that regard. I don't love the variants, but like Laurie was saying, I want to choose people who are going to do something that's unique and stands out and are just fire artists. So first and foremost, I want to work with, awesome artists. But in Drumsticks of Doom's case, for the most part, there are peers that I know in the community that also love and embrace metal music. So like Maria Wolf on the first, I approached her. Thankfully, she had a space in her schedule. She was excited about it. I think when you find your people in the community and you approach them with an idea like this, I mean, even Dan was the same way with the interiors. He's a musician as well as an artist, so it was easy to pitch it to him, and he's like, of course I want to do a book about music. And when I come to people like Kelly Williams and I'm like, do you want to do a Holy Diver homage cover, because it would be really sick for it? And he's like, yes, I love Dio, you know that, you follow me on Twitter, so it's approaching the right person for the project. It doesn't always work out. I've definitely had artists who weren't able to do it or weren't able to produce, but I at least for this project, I'm like, if I'm going to do a variant, I want it to be somebody who's like super into the project. And like Laurie said, then they're going to be invested and say, look, we made this great piece of art together. It's on this cool book, and help get it out there as well.
That's a good answer. And you always have potentially, there could be a customer or several that collect everything by said artist. Like it might have nothing to do with your awesome book. They just want to collect that artist cover.
Yeah. And I learned that really quick, not to be such a grumpy old man, because actually Dan is very close friends with Kaylin Smith. And that was part of how she came on, because I was like, oh, we need a variant. And, she does great, female figures and things like that. Would she be interested? And yeah, she right away woke me up to say, oh my God, yeah, she brought her own audience. They were rabid for the cover. And that was like, oh yeah, you should probably get with the times, Westhoff, because it brings, like Laurie said, then it brings, even if it's just 25 to 50 people, that's a big deal long term.
Right. So great answer, John. So Matt, how about you? I mean, you have, first of all, for Cosmic Caveman, is there variants or is there multiple covers? How did you do it?
Yeah, we have 3 variants, and so we we keep it sort of in-house with everybody that we've worked with before. I found that that's kind of a marketing angle. If I reach out, so with Cosmic Caveman, we had done a fantasy young readers book that was illustrated by Travis Wells. So we had Travis do a cover for this. So when I reach out to the Mossvale community, I'm like, this is a new book, but I also have this thing to tie it in. Like, you're a fan of this artist, so if you want to come over to this project, you're going to still get art from this artist. So yeah, we did 3, but we kept it sort of in-house with people that we worked with before, so that we're able to reach out to those email lists, those Kickstarter updates, and stuff like that. So we have a variant by Travis, who did Mossvale. We have a variant by Urtan.
I loved Mossvale, Matt.
Oh, thanks. That's been it's an easy sell for us at con. So hopefully there'll be more soon.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we have Travis from Mossvale. We have Urtan Seahand, who I'm working with on a book that we'll talk about in a little bit, Dying Days. And then Gonzalo Ruggieri, who's done work with Image and Sumerian. I helped him make an art book, so he did another book. So each time when I reach out to these people from various lists, I sort of have this common thread of like, this thing's a little bit different, but I have this, this artist or this person that from this project that's involved in this one. So I try to angle it that way.
Right. I think I'm going to circle back around to something that John said. And as you probably noticed, I like to talk out of both sides of my mouth, because I was the guy who said originally, look, I'm not doing variant covers. I'm a writer, and I want people to take a look at what I'm doing as a writer. But in the Kickstarter market, what you quickly learn is that one of the ways to generate revenue is to have, if not 2 or 3, sometimes as many as 4. And I did 4 on the last one, plus a black and white edition, and it's quadrupled my first book, right? So it's actually working. So for people that were like me and you're on the fence, should I do a variant cover or not? I think the answer from this group is you pretty much need to do it as an economic reality. Would you guys agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Ultimately, you want to generate money to support your book and your project. So, like it or not, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, there's definitely a limit. Like, not all of us, are Steve doing it all. So, if you do have to hire out, there's a limit. I've definitely known people who've gone a little too far. Then it ends up costing you, because when you're 15 covers deep and you're paying 100 to 200 or more per them. So be smart about it. Try a couple. I've definitely done it as well.
I know who you're talking about.
No, you don't.
We all do.
To myself.
Well, and that brings up a good topic, a good talking point as well. I mean, that's something that I've thought of, what if I got and hired some bigger star artist to do a cover for my book? That would get a lot of eyes on my book,
Sometimes.
But
sometimes.
Because they bring an audience with them. I mean, I've definitely
if you're willing to promote it, because if they do it quietly and they don't tell their audience, it gets you nothing. And I've seen it happen.
Wow.
Right. And I do think that is part of it. I of course, I approach people. I want them to do an amazing cover first and foremost. They don't have to promote. It's not required. But there is a part of that, right? If I don't see them on social media, or they're not on all the major accounts, posting about their other people's work, then, they might not be at the top of my list, because you do need that. You need a little help. Again, it's not required. I never make that part of the contract, but it certainly helps. And Steve, again, you've already got your 1 or 2 covers, from you. So, maybe a third one would, bring in somebody to spice it up. I actually went back doing the Drumsticks of Doom variant covers. I went back and did a variant for Depowered, which didn't have one to begin with. So now with the relaunch of that, again, I'm kind of like you, Tim, said, I'm acknowledging, my head down, tail between, like, I have to adjust to the times. And it's fun too. I think it is fun for the book. And I don't, put something out there. If the backers don't want it, they don't have to get it, right? I'm not forcing anyone to. Yeah. And that was something I struggled with early on too. I'm not trying to, trick people into getting the book, but let them decide if they don't want the cool metal cover.
As they say, let the market decide.
Well, and to bounce off Tim just a little bit, I feel the same way he does. Ultimately I want people to read my book. That's why I'm making the book. That's why it is important to me. And if I can put a flashy cover, or, a cool something extra on it that gets somebody else to buy it, my hope is that they'll read it as well, and if I can get more people to get the book in their hands, hopefully I'm going to get some people who have read the book and build my audience, that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good answer.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like walking into it like an art gallery. Certain pieces of art are going to speak to you more. So by having, various options at that cover, somebody might look at one of those covers and be like, not terribly excited about that. But then they scroll down and they're like, oh, that cover really speaks to me. So the opportunity to pull somebody in with a variant cover might be helpful.
Yeah.
The other thing is you get collectors. So I will offer them all individually. I'll offer them all as add-ons. So if there's one that they really like, but they also want the A cover for their collection because that's what they have already had, they can get an additional copy. And then you always offer the collection. So it's like you can get all 5 of the variants plus the metal. And I've had people go to that one. I had a metal cover. It was like metal cover and then a regular A cover for $100. And then I did all the covers for an additional $25, and everybody was on that one. So you want people have a hard time choosing. There's just
and I did the same
decision
thing in this
fatigue.
Kickstarter. I've got packages that have all of the covers, and then one that has all of the holofoil covers. And there's people that have picked it up. I mean, it's well done.
What's up, Romo?
Romo.
Yeah, I've actually had some success with doing the sets, which in my case is usually a 3 or 4 set. And I also do like for the set, it's deeply discounted because, again, what you're doing is you're bumping your print run. So every set that you sell helps, not just money-wise, but helps your print run. Again, that's one man's opinion.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What do you guys feel like about a variant cover that's not suitable for work? The spicy cover.
Well,
how do you feel about that?
You asked, so I'm going to give my opinion. Normally, I keep this sort of stuff for myself, but I don't do them. That's nothing against them. You're basically guaranteed to sell one, but that's also got to recognize who your customer is. That's not my customer. And I don't think anybody would be surprised to hear that person won't read your book, more than likely. That's not what they're in it for. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? Look, I love I love the carefully delineated female form just as much as the next fella. And my books are even female characters. But when you open the book, that's not what the book's about, even a little bit. So
why are you assuming she meant not safe for work? Female characters.
I mean, it could be a dude. Yeah.
Be a spicy
Laurie,
man.
Did you mean a man or did you mean a woman?
I just missaid something spicy because that seems to get attention on Kickstarter. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I ran, it was really interesting because in my last campaign, I did one. And it actually made sense for my story because there's a lot of issues that come up in my story. And that's one of is sex trade.
Yeah.
Right? So we had a cover and people didn't want to talk to me about it. And I was like, oh, is it because I'm a girl? Like, I don't understand.
And by the way, Laurie, I thought yours was kind of tasteful, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it was meant to. It was meant to be confusing because, of course, my spicy cover was an undead woman. So it's like I don't know how I should feel about this. She's beautiful, but this is taboo, right? And that was the whole purpose of it, is to be kind of taboo. But I didn't do like gangbusters. I didn't sell like 100 of those versus 30 of the other ones. It did the same amount of numbers as everything else. So I don't know. Take that for what you will.
Well,
yeah, I admit that I've thought about it.
I have no plans for it currently, but I think it was Rick Remender who said, you know what, we're all sellouts, so ask me in 6 months, I'll probably change my mind.
Well, I just wanted to do it like I love running experiments. Like, I'm going to try this and see what happens, right?
I have no plans for it in part-time comics. It's just not the bridge we want to cross. But I will tell you, as a consumer, I have never purchased one, but I would be more inclined, like, I don't know, an Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips book. There's always, not always, but often a sexual element to them. It's part of the story. It's part of humanity in general. We shouldn't hide away from it. But I'm less likely to buy one where, we have one and then we have one without clothes. Again, your story, just as a consumer, to me, if it makes sense to the story, why hide it? It doesn't have to just be on the interiors. It could be on the cover. We're adults, most of us.
And I'm wondering if like it'll do a certain way on Kickstarter, and when we go to cons, if it will do a different number.
I wouldn't doubt that. I think people might be shy to come up and pick that one up, but I'd be interested to hear.
You would make it tasteful. Like I would put like a sticky note on the front of the plastic.
Yeah.
So and if you wanted to see, you would have to lift the sticky
What would the note be stuck on with?
On the plastic on the outside.
Matt, I'd like to hear you didn't say too much. I'd like to hear Matt's 2 cents on this subject.
I have never done one.
Sexy caveman cover.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's already wearing a loincloth.
Well, most of the books that I've done through Ageless have been all ages books, so it doesn't really make any sense. And a lot of these things, I constantly feel like if I'm on a show or if I'm at a con, these are almost like job interviews, and like I don't. And again, this is just my personal preference. I just don't want to present myself that way. And so I just one or two things, like the stuff that I'm working on just doesn't lend itself to that.
Right.
And I'll have parents come up to me at a con, and they'll be like, "Hey, can my kid read this?" And I'm like, this has the appropriate amount of like comic book violence in it. People are punching each other in the head, but there's no, graphic sexuality or extreme gore. So just like I'm not really in that sphere. So but
yeah, then it just wouldn't make sense for you to do one. Why would you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, like Marvel and DC do this. Like Psylocke fights in a bathing suit, and
Yep.
like she's barely got any clothes on. So like it's a tried and true method that a lot of people use. Even the big two is gonna use it. So
Yeah.
You did have one cover. Now this was not direction by me, but there is some nipple action on the variant cover for issue 2. So that was the artist's choice. I wasn't going to come in and say, do it different. He felt like that was the direction I was giving, and I think again I felt like it was tasteful. It wasn't just here's the top of this cover.
And I'm the same way. I've not done anything like that on a cover yet, but I do have some tasteful cheesecake here and there in my book, but I'm trying to go for kind of an all ages thing, not really an all ages, maybe a 13 plus. And if I do something like that on the cover, it's going to be as tasteful as possible. It'll be something that it's not going to be X-rated or not too much of that spice that you want.
I only laughed because when my artist was coming up with the cover, he drew a couple, and at one of them I was just like, oh god, no, put that away. Like I was like, I can't go that far. No, put it away. I was like, I need this other one as a much better post. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll just share this real quick. First off, man, thanks for bringing up that topic. I'm always interested in discussing it. And by the way, I get it that it's super successful, but it is a slope that once you get on, it's difficult to get back off. And what you find yourself is the next one, when you do it, it'll be 10 covers in a row where they're all NSFW covers.
Yeah. I don't plan on doing it. It just made sense for that topic to come up. Again, that was the guinea pig to see. And if it didn't do like double what everybody else did, then what is the point? I can still do a nice cover.
Right. I would even say, to me, double wouldn't even be enough. It would have to be 10 to 20 times, because at the end of the day, we're all representing a brand. And Laurie, I mean this with every complimentary sense. I think you have a very strong brand. I think that the path that you're on with Path of the Pale Rider,
I like what you did there.
But I think you're on the right path. And this feel free to flame me in the comments. But I think the way that you're doing it is right, and I think that would potentially weaken that brand.
Yeah.
Look, we all know who we're talking about, and there is nobody who's saying, "Wow, that's a really good book." You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's usually young men. But just saying.
And I'll just add this as the last aside. I had a book kicked from a publisher, kicked back to me by an editor for a too salaciously drawn Lovecraftian goddess. It was like she was like coming out of the flames and stuff. And in our case, the goddess was female. And he wrote up and he's like, dude, what are you doing? This is not appropriate for our customer base. Put a bra on your goddess. And he was partly being funny, but he's like, no, look, we're going to kick your story unless you redo the art. And so what we did is we obscured her with flames and carefully placed lettering and things. So editors, when they're looking at stories, like Matt said, this kind of comes back around in a circle. Depending on what they're looking for, there aren't too many editors that are saying things like, well, can you make this a little bit more
it's usually like in the inside, they're like, can you tone it down?
Yeah. So let's see.
I did.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I had done a book one time, and I totally just sort of got away from me. But there was a woman without a top in the background at like a party. And, the artist had sort of like fallen. I couldn't like get in communication with them, so I was like to the color. So I'm like, hey, can we just put a top on her in the background? I missed this. this fast, but yeah, she needs a top. So
Yeah, it was. I don't mind telling you on mine because it was. He's well known. It was Russell Nolte and Kristen Kerner-Simon from IDW. So this was. They were legit publishers, and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" They're like, "We love your story, but you've got to change this." So I learned a lesson that day. I was like, "Okay, I'm just going to stay closer to what I'm doing."
Yeah.
So guys, and gals, thanks for sharing that thoughtful answer and thoughtful look into the NSFW covers. Because I always worry about that myself. Because look, not for nothing, you see some of these Kickstarters and they tend to be what we call a 5-figure Kickstarter. But there are many people that are doing it without that by trying to craft the better story. And I think I can speak for everybody in this room. And you guys all have really strong brands that are story driven more so than they're visual and everything. I'm not implying that they're not visual, but I'm not saying that, Matt, this caveman book would be a lot better, but can you give us a couple cavemen with their tops off? Because
I am.
Tough crowd.
So let's circle back around. Let's take a look at, we got some great products out there. I want to make sure that we give some shout outs to our current projects that are going on. First off, we're going to talk to Steve Ricketts. It's time to get ripped, baby. I had the first one of these and I thought it was a terrific superhero tale. Steve, can you tell us a little bit of a pitch for Ripped and also tell us who will love this project?
The pitch for this is the story is that of a world where superheroes can be anyone and they can gain their powers at any time. No one really understands how superpowers are gained. And the story is about a young man who idolizes the greatest superhero in the world and who is I don't know if I want to spoil it.
No, don't spoil it.
I don't know if I want to spoil it. Let's not spoil it. But anyway, the young man ends up gaining superhero powers at the end of issue number 1, which he uses recklessly to without training. And issue number 2 is him learning how to use his superpowers so he can be the superhero he's always wanted to be.
Nice. Viewers, I got the first one. I have to recommend this project. It's a lot of fun. It's terrific for people that love superheroes. It's got some great collector covers. And me personally, as some of you know, I'm a trading card guy, and I thought the cards came out terrific. So here's your call to action, as Laurie Calcaterra would say. Go over right now and check out Ripped. It's live on Kickstarter, and I recommend it in the highest possible terms.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, man. You bet. So let's jump over now. Laurie always has multiple projects going on. Right now, she's also a writer on another project that's going on. That's Psycho Sal. This is live right now. Laurie, give us a brief synopsis or share whatever information you'd like to share and tell us who you think will love this project.
Ooh, this one's a dark one, you guys. This is about a serial killer who's active in New Orleans in the 1980s. And what I really think is unique about this series is that it's planned for 9 issues, and every 3 issues, the story changes perspective. So if you didn't read the first 3, these are the 2 detectives. They're homicide detectives and FBI profilers that are going after this serial killer who is leaving behind paintings and symbols, and he's doing some really gruesome deaths. So issues 4, 5, and 6 are different. It's from a female victim's point of view. And William Russell is keeping this very close to himself. Like, he hasn't really shared too much art of what this character looks like. And of course, I'm not allowed to tell you what's going to happen with her, but people that would like this, like 80s slasher films, this is pretty gory. It's psychological horror because he messes with his victims pretty bad. So if you like a nice slasher.
I knew what you meant.
You know what I mean.
New word, new genre.
They're all gonna die, kind of thing.
Metal
like this Metal Girl situation. Like this is the series for you. He has some really cool tiers going on right now. He always thinks outside the box, and it's like Halloween themed, and it's a good bloody gory time. So I'm the writer for issues 4, 5, and 6.
Terrific. Well, wish you every success there. Viewers, that's Psycho Sal. Go over right now. Drop everything you're doing and go check it out. It's from Laurie Calcaterra, so you know it's going to be good, right?
Oh, and I kill everybody.
Let's circle back around to one of my favorites. And man, I checked this book out earlier in the year, or I guess that was last year the first one came out. This is Drumsticks of Doom by John Westhoff. And man, I just love this thing. As many of you know, I'm a classical metalhead, but it appeals to a lot of different people, right? It's got a little bit of emotion in the story. It's got a lot of musical elements, and it's got a cool kind of distinctive line art to us. John, tell us a little bit about Drumsticks of Doom and who will love this project. Well,
I'd like to thank my peer, Laurie, for, if you're a fan of the thrasher genre, this is because this is a book like Tim said. It's about heavy metal, the short pitches. What if Black Sabbath, not the Beatles, became the most famous band in the world, and thus the universe was changed forever? But our main character Lana just wants to make indie music in a heavy metal world. So that's how it started out. It's grown so much since Dan and I started working on this about 3 years ago, trying to pitch it to companies. Went to Kickstarter ourselves. And if you're a fan of heavy metal, we take a lot of the lore of heavy metal. I'm a big fan, like Tim said he is. I think it's an easy pitch to those people. They see these great homage covers, like our Peace Cells homage here from Ryan Vela, and we've done some other great ones. We know who our target audience is. I think anybody can enjoy it. It's a very music infused book, which I do enjoy. But it's definitely, again, we're taking tidbits from heavy metal songs and videos and things like that, and we're making a story out of the lore that is all these great heavy metal songs that we grew up listening to.
Awesome. Pops, yeah, you're right. Black Sabbath is actually the greatest band in the world.
They are the greatest, but not the most popular. Say that, but they should have been, and they aren't.
So viewers, check that out. That's Drumsticks of Doom. I have the first one, or I think I might have the first two now, but it's a terrific book, John, and I wish you every success with it. Call to action, drop what you're doing right now and go over and check it out. That's Drumsticks of Doom. So let's circle back around to Matt, because he's got a couple of things going on. They're both very cool. That would be, first, we'll take a look at Dying Days. This is in the previews catalog right now. Matt, congratulations, man. You got a book in the previews catalog.
That's awesome.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Give us a quick pitch for Dying Days and tell us who will love this project.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty lucky in that Philip Kennedy Johnson, the writer of like Superman and Action Comics, he's a local guy to me. So I had him on my podcast, and he did a book called The Last Sons of America, where people couldn't have children anymore. So it was a race against time. So I was really inspired by that idea. So I just basically came up with, there's this event that everybody refers to as the aging, and people are aging at an advanced rate. So there's a race for a cure, race to figure out why it's happening. So if you like the movie like In Time with Justin Timberlake, where the people were like trading time was a commodity and stuff like that. You would like that. It's been in the works for a while. Sort of a classic adventure, race against time. A lot of my books involved time and dying, so I put all these together here. So
it looks really cool, man.
And not to cut Matt off, but we talk a lot about Kickstarters and we love the hype that Kickstarters bring, but previews is still a huge deal. So pre-orders are huge in our community, and it's great to see up here somebody I've known for a while get a book in there. So I congratulate you, and I hope that people will take that just as seriously as if this was on Kickstarter.
I totally agree.
The hustle for an indie creator, sort of to get into previews. This book is by Red 5. This book doesn't have Batman or Spider-Man on the cover, so I'm still the same sort of hustle that you have to put into a Kickstarter of getting eyes and ears on it is the same thing here at this stage. Like, it's still that same grind of like making sure people know about it, and pre-orders are very important with books like this. Hopefully if you tell your shop, I want one, The goal is like maybe have a couple people tell their shop, and then the shop owner's like, hey, this book has a little bit of heat behind it. Let me make sure I get a couple of extra copies to put up on my rack or on my shelf like that. So
always
very
support
similar.
Always support your LCS if you have one. If you order online, like me, a horrible person, it's 30% off. It's 30% off on Tales from Another World. So get 30% off Tales from Another World.
Cool.
I just added it to my pull list.
Nice.
I appreciate it, man.
I think it sounds like a great concept, Matt.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a long time, and it's all of us are looking to sort of incrementally sort of up our game, and this was a big thing for me to hopefully be able to take another step. But the grind never stops. You gotta keep working. It's not like a set it and forget it kind of thing.
The grind never stops.
Never stops.
No, it doesn't.
Where we live, people.
Until you turn to dust.
Until you turn to dust.
Yeah.
So, while we're on the subject, though, with Matt, of course, he's got a few things going on.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about Cosmic Caveman and the Volcano Worshippers.
Ooh, look at
Which,
that.
by the way, I just love
Sign
this
up.
title. I love the title.
Yeah, I'm acting as the publisher here. This is the first story written by my good friend Noah Ray. He's the co-host of my podcast. He's been involved in nearly every book I've ever made, either art, editing, lettering, reviewing it, just giving me story thoughts. So he wanted to write this story. Interesting. He found his artist through Instagram. Instagram was like, hey, you should, check out this guy's art. They struck up a friendship. They decided to make this book. It's a really simple concept. We have Crad, the cosmic caveman. The planet that the planet that he lives on is about to explode. There are some dinosaurs that believe that if the baby dinosaur is thrown into the volcano, it will stop the planet from exploding, and Crad does not want that to happen. So it is a race to save this cute little baby dinosaur from being thrown in a volcano. Noah and Clint, the artist, are very inspired by Samurai Jack. There's a lot of comparisons to Primal. I love it because I see a lot of Jack Kirby in it. We have the big meaty Jack Kirby fist coming at you that looks like a bunch of ballpark frame.
I am a sucker for thick black line inks, and those are some thick lines, brother. You can feel the muscle on that.
I had
popping right off the page.
I hadn't seen Clint's work before, but yeah, when I saw this, I immediately had to follow him. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah,
very Kirby-ish.
So we're in our last 5 days. We're looking good, but we're pushing forward. But I appreciate the chance to talk about both of these projects, and I want to encourage everybody to check out the projects of everybody on this, because of the community. As a maker, I'm excited to make stuff, but I'm also excited to, back friends, help friends, and stuff like that. So we all have to work together.
We're all in it together, Matt. And I got to say, I kind of dig what you're doing, and particularly in the sense of you're one of those guys who's doing what other people are not doing. Like both projects that you just mentioned are really original. So viewers, hey, that's Cosmic Caveman and the Volcano Worshippers. Call to action.
If it doesn't get the goal, the baby Triceratops will die.
That's very true. That's very true. You don't want that baby dinosaur to die. Look how cute he is.
Only you can save the baby Triceratops. So pledge now, pledge often. You got 5 days to check that one out. And I mentioned earlier, this is kind of a group effort, and I always want to make the shows not about me. So I will not mention that Planet Comics 19, featuring the Hunchback, is on sale this week at your local comic store. Awesome. And I will definitely gloss right over. You should definitely not, while you're there, order your copy of number 20, which will be coming out next week.
Woo,
so pretty psyched about that.
So
I did sneak in my own plug.
Nice.
We can talk a little bit, guys, in closing. We've got about 14 minutes to go. So I thought maybe a nice way to finish up we could talk about a little bit some things that we might do for digital customers, particularly as it would pertain to the launch. In my case, what I was trying to do was offer a deeply discounted version of digital versions for my customers. In that case, by deeply, I mean like maybe $4 or $5, $6, and it would be a big package of books. So my question would be for you. We'll start with Steve. Steve, do you offer a digital copy? Do you do anything for early backers? What is your recommended best practice for somebody? Maybe if it was for somebody getting started, what would you tell them?
Well, for my first issue, I sold a digital copy. I think I put a $5 price tag on it.
That's reasonable.
And I had people who bought the standard, the actual paper or the print version, and they also bought the digital version as well, I guess, so they could read it before I even shipped them out, which is cool. This issue, I thought, you know what, if they're going to buy my book, I'll just send them a digital copy anyway. So I didn't give them the option to purchase the digital copy if they bought a print copy. I'm just going to send it to them. Everybody that buys a book can get the digital copy as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you mind if I ask, how did you decide that?
I don't know, Tim. I thought, number one, I want people to read my book. And if they're getting the digital copy, they're not getting it to look at the pretty cover. They're not getting it to look at the pretty art. They're getting it to read. And, if I can get some extra people reading my book, and that's fantastic. I mean, share it with your friends or your kids or whatever, I want people to read the book. And as a matter of fact, the digital buy-in on my second issue, if you buy the $5 digital copy, you also get issue 1 as well for no additional charge. So that way, people, why would you buy issue 2 if you've never read issue 1?
Right. I asked you that because number one, because I know you're a collector and you probably prefer print issues, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm the same way. I prefer print, but it's fair to say that every time now digital is my fastest growing category. And
and I mean, the people, the newer consumer may just, may be in it for the digital stuff, and that's, if that's what they want, then I'm by all means I'll offer it for them.
Gotcha. Okay, let's jump over to Laurie. Laurie, for your digital packages, and if you don't mind sharing, how much are they and how did you arrive at your price point?
I also do $5 for the single PDF. And I also do what Steve does, where if they're getting a physical, they just automatically get a PDF. I do offer a single tier where it's physical only, and it is a little bit cheaper. So
okay,
if they
can we ask how cheap is it?
It's $10.
Oh, that's not bad.
My typical package is $15. So you get the PDF and a single copy of the comic, a physical copy. So I'll do like a $5 for just that issue. I'll do $10 for just the physical, no digital, and then everything else is $15. However, I do bundle the PDFs, and I will usually knock off. You bundle it and you get one for free. So my next campaign, I'll be doing 4 issues. So you'll pay $15, but you'll get 4 PDFs.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The other thing that I like to do for my PDF backers, because a lot of them are international, I make sure that my very first stretch goal is a PDF bundle. That way they can also get a stretch goal, because when you're only giving physical stretch goals, they miss out 100%. Right. So my very first stretch goal is always an indie PDF, like a group where you get like 8 or 10 comics, first issue, where they can read new comics maybe they haven't read before. And it helps everybody. It helps the indie people that are, getting new readers. They're tapping into my audience. Maybe someone in my audience really likes to read Drumsticks of Doom or, any of Matt's 3,000 books.
I think I'm in that group too. Thanks for including me, Laurie.
Right. So it's if their first time, reading one of Matt's books and they really like it, then Matt gets new readers too. Yeah. But that way everybody kind of wins. Everybody's getting something. So that's one of the things that I like to do for my PDF people.
Nice.
Awesome.
So let's jump over to John. And John, you and I are digital swap partners too. What's your thought? First of all, tell us a little bit about your digital strategy. And with that, do you also offer the titles all at once? Do you do it one at a time? How do you do it? And why?
Well, we definitely offer all of our titles in digital. And actually, we have no current home to warehouse them. So through the Kickstarters is the best way to get your digitals. I like to be very confusing. So I do half of the price point of the book of the main cover. So this issue is based on the length of the book is $8. So the PDF is $4. Last issue was $6, so it's $3. I like people to bring singles when they come to see me at conventions. So I always price my books at terrible, non-round, not easy to calculate numbers. So I usually go $4, $1 for every 4 internal pages is how I do my price points. So if anybody's wondering. But yes, so I always do the digital for any issue and the catch-up tier. Like Laurie, if it's a longer running series, I usually discount with as each grows. Give usually $1 off as they grow. So by the 4th issue, the first one's free. So that's kind of how I've been doing it. We also offer all of our books in digital through the each Kickstarter. So if you want to catch up on everything Westhoff, you can get them all there as well.
Everything Westhoff, baby. Everything's coming up Westhoff.
Not so much. And mostly I do that. I would love to give away, the digitals for cheaper, but they are part of the production of the book. And we love our digital backers. They literally carry the company. We like you said, we get so many people international and just can't, pay the shipping that want to support the book in some way and want to read it. And that's just, it's a great feeling to be able to click that button and know that it's going to, 75 people around the world when you send it out.
Right. For real. So we'll jump over to Matt. How about you? How do you handle your digital backers? And if you don't mind answering, what your price point is, and what would you recommend for new people?
Yeah. So if it's a single issue, we will do like $3. If there are more issues as a package, we'll bundle it and reduce the price as you're getting more. I do the $3 PDF. One thing that really gets to me is if somebody sent me a message and they're like, "Hey, I can only afford to do the PDF. I wish I could do more." I always write them back and I'm like, "Please don't apologize for that. I'm just excited that you want to get the book." But one thing that I do like about digital is, when we go to print a book, we have to do that divisible by 4.
Right.
So I might have extra art that I can't get into the print copy. If somebody does a nice piece of fan art, I can very easily add that to the digital copy, and I don't have to worry about, hey, this is no longer divisible by 4, and the printer is going to send me a message going, hey, we can't do this unless it's this. So $3 for a single issue, and I like to try to add extra stuff in there. So that's my philosophy on that. It's difficult. I'll see the Marvel and DC books are the same price digital as they are physical, and I'm like,
yeah,
doesn't really,
they're kind of missing the boat there, aren't they?
Doesn't really make much sense. I'm really surprised that this is probably a longer topic, but I wonder how well Marvel and DC would do if digital comics were just 99 cents. The old iTunes model. I want a song, 99 cents. I don't really think about that too much.
Yeah.
Let me get that. So, but yeah, $3 for us.
We'll give Christian, great answer, Matt. Thank you. We'll give Christian a quick shout out there. If you want to check out his book, that's over at Fund My Comic. Those guys are doing great things over there at Fund My Comic. Certainly worth taking a look at. All the right people seem to like it. Have you guys tried Fund My Comic yet?
No,
I haven't backed or found somebody to support, but I'll check it out.
Yeah.
There's always apprehension when you're switching. You know what I mean? Or all the people from the previous platform going to follow. So, and is it worth it? Because how many people are you going to lose versus how many you're going to get? There's always apprehension when it comes to.
Yeah. And I've heard of people doing multiple platforms, like doing GoFundMe and, or not GoFundMe, Kickstarter and, what's the other one?
Zoop.
Indiegogo. Yeah.
Indiegogo,
and doing the same.
Crowdfunder, Zoop. Yeah. I see Steve's over there on Grindr now.
That's a whole different topic. That's not safe for work.
It comes back to Laurie. It was her idea. Special Steve Ricketts edition.
The Spice. Just call me the
Spicy. Woo.
So I just want to say,
I'm just saying it was 101.
Well, I just wanted to say, I appreciate you guys coming on tonight and sharing all of your valuable knowledge. I think I really learned a lot, and I hope the viewers did too. It's really a pleasure to have you guys on the show, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your information and this knowledge, which it's useful not just for me, but I think for a lot of people to have us in one room kind of saying these things. And I just want to add, when I started, there really weren't a lot of things like this where indie creators got together, and I didn't know any of these things, and it would have been really useful. So thank you very much. I really mean it. I really appreciate you guys coming.
Well, thanks for having us, Tim.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So to the viewers at home, I hope you'll check out these projects from my guest tonight. They're highly recommended, not just because I'm pals with these folks, but because they're putting out some quality products, which are definitely at the forefront of the market today. So respectively, that's Ripped, Psycho Sal, Drumsticks of Doom, and Cosmic Caveman. I hope you'll take a look. And other than that, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Tim.
Mm-hmm.